Hello and welcome to another edition of The People's Rose. I'm Jarrett.
And I'm Brooke.
And we're a married couple that loves reality TV. We love it so much. We watch it. We talk about it as a couple. We enjoy watching it as a couple. And now we're recording ourselves talking about it as a couple. We watch so many reality TV shows that we had to have an emergency middle of the week podcast for one of our favorite episodes, actually a couple of them that we haven't gotten to cover. We typically watch, what we're watching right now is we're watching The Golden Bachelor, or Bachelor in Paradise, The Amazing Race. F-Boy Island started this week, or next week, I believe. We're going to watch that. We're watching Love is Blind. We are watching Big Brother. Are there any other? I think we're watching quite a bit of shows right now. And then Brooke is always watching whatever Housewives is on that she likes, whatever Sister Wives is on that she likes, whatever TLC show is on that she likes.
Whatever 90 Day Fiancé franchise is on.
Exactly. So last week's episode was so action packed. We really felt like we didn't have enough time to cover it. So we're just having an emergency middle of the week podcast because we could really talk 3 hours about Love is Blind.
Exactly.
And Bachelor in Paradise. Well, much less on Bachelor in Paradise. But we decided to just give you some extra content. And so that's what we're going to be discussing this week. You can tune into our Thursday or our Friday episode to hear about our other shows. But this week, we are doing the Love is Blind episodes that came out last Friday. This is the Houston edition of Love is Blind. And it is horrible. I wouldn't say the show is like horrible, but it's clearly the worst season.
At this point, we're like hate watching. Like we're not watching like we're rooting for you. We're watching like, oh my gosh, how is this disaster gonna come to an end?
And then not only are we watching it, but all of the social media about it is just furthering that idea of this recording, this production was just horrible from the beginning.
But this is why we needed emergency podcast session, because there's so much out there, and I feel like I'm not getting in on the convos by waiting to talk about it.
Right. So we're gonna recover those episodes, but we've been holding out on it because I was like, we'll wait till the reunion. But there's so much out there now that if we waited to the reunion, we'd have to have a 5-hour podcast, right?
But I also don't think the reunion is gonna give us what we really want. They never actually answer the questions on the reunion.
Especially if it's hosted by Nick and Vanessa.
Yeah, on the last reunion, they were like, we're doing it live. So it was like, you're going to get everything in real time. But it was like nothing special.
And technical difficulties aside, they didn't even ask really the questions to the right people that we wanted. Maybe they'll let us host. Okay, Netflix, hey, we're cheap. Whatever you're paying Nick Lachey and Vanessa, we will literally We'll take a fourth of that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll take a fifth.
To split between us.
Exactly. Of one of their salaries.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we're going to get into the episodes, but let's just cover some of the myriad of stuff we've seen on social media first. Before we dive into the episodes, let's just talk about it. What's the biggest thing you would say? I would say the biggest thing, and kind of what encapsulates everything, is there was actually 5 couples.
Oh my gosh.
In Mexico. Go ahead. Lay it on them.
Yeah. So, okay. So, have we not even talked about, we kind of briefly talked about Renee and what's his name?
Carter. We talked about Renee and Carter briefly. They were one of the couples that are allegedly, it's pretty evidently we're in Mexico.
Yeah. They were in Mexico. Renee was at the wedding dress fitting this week, and they tried to
sneakily edit it.
Yeah, they tried to edit it like she was just a friend of Lydia, but she was wearing white. Like all of the brides were wearing white.
Right.
And then also when they're at the rooftop party, she's wearing a ring. an engagement ring.
Yeah.
So Renee and Carter got engaged. They went to Mexico and they made it all the way to the aisle, but
From what we know.
Yeah, but did not get married.
Right.
And there's a bunch of info out there now basically alleging that Carter is the one that kind of destroyed it all because he cheated on her. He supposedly brought a female to the apartment that Netflix was providing for them to live in.
Yeah.
And then apparently he threatened to harm himself if they released the footage. But this is all alleged. We don't know that for sure. But what we do know is that Renee... Okay, so another kind of theory thrown out there was that Renee had a boyfriend prior to the show. And, like, you know, leading up to the show. And then broke up with him to go on the show. And once things with her and Carter did not work out, she then went back to the boyfriend and married him. They are now married. And
Right.
That is public record. You can see that her and Carter had a wedding, or what's it called?
Marriage license.
Marriage
they applied
license.
For a marriage license.
That didn't ever get returned. And then she has a new marriage license with this now husband.
Right.
So Renee says, "Oh, I was not dating him on the show."
Right.
But the timeline is pretty sketch, right?
Right.
So there's that.
Yep. So those. Okay. So that's 4. So in addition to the 3 we saw, that's Renee and Carter. Then there's the 5th couple that again is confirmed because the producer confirmed it. The reason why a producer confirmed the 5th couple that was completely edited out of the show that was in Mexico is because the woman in that couple, her name is public, but I don't remember her name, and we're just not going to say it. But she sued the production company that creates Love Is Blind and I believe her partner on the show for sexual harassment and false imprisonment. Basically, she alleges that the night in Mexico, her partner was making her then fiance was making unwanted sexual advances on her. I haven't read the lawsuit myself or seen any documentation, but apparently the report is that she, was uncomfortable with that. I don't know if she didn't say no or if her relenting was ignored. Regardless, she told production the next day. She claims that they said it was a miscommunication and she wasn't applying herself to the experiment. This is what she alleges they said, and that, and then eventually she decided to quit the show and immediately sought representation so she could sue, an attorney so she can sue.
Right.
So subsequently, I guess either for their own reputation or because it's an ongoing legal matter, they edited that couple completely. Not just from Mexico and subsequent events, but from the pods. We didn't see them in the pods like we did Renee and Carter. They're not in any promotional material. And so they're just completely removed from the show.
I'm shocked that they were able to do that.
Well, they've done it, but this whole season has felt off.
Yeah.
And it's because we've had JP and Taylor not make it. Renee and Carter had to be edited out of the show, even though we knew they were on the show. We had a couple we didn't even know was on the show, or was in the filming, that had to be removed completely.
Right.
And so we're seeing basically a show that didn't go well, and it's the scraps of what they have footage-wise. So they're constructing whatever narrative is left. That's why we got 2 episodes of a party that happened on the rooftop with a Novell in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think ultimately so many people who are watching this season are going, this season is trash.
Right.
It's just not giving what it's supposed to have given.
Right.
So, man.
I mean, it's giving drama, but it's almost like more drama is happening outside of the show than on the show.
Well, it's giving scandal.
Yeah,
There's
that's
scandal
a good, yeah.
that's happening that's like scandalous. There's no dramatic tension. There's no romantic drama. You know what I mean? There's no will they, won't they. It's more like should they not.
Yeah.
Which has happened before, but, we're seeing love stories. Typically, no, it's none of that, right?
I just don't, like, after all of this, though, like, because not only is this girl suing them,
Mm-hmm.
but also they have those other guys from, or I guess guy from a few seasons back who's also suing.
Right.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I don't remember what the charges are, but he said he was sleep deprived, and they didn't eat, which is also something you're seeing in the edit is them eating all the time.
Yeah.
We're literally seeing them be shots of the contestants going like, man, I got a great sleep last night.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which, to their credit, they filmed this before this guy's lawsuit came out. So while that might be edited to like back up their point, it's not like these people didn't say these things.
Yeah.
And it's not like there was someone coaxing them like, hey, said you just had a great meal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, I am wondering, like, how much longer is this going to go on if we're having allegations like this? And also, I do think they keep the living quarters pretty secretive, which is a little sketch. Like, think about it.
I don't think it's a sketch, but go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking about it. Like, on Project Runway, you go and see how they live.
But you don't do that you don't see that on Next in Fashion.
Well, true. You're right. We don't see, like, how their living condition is, but I don't know. It seems like you would.
No, I don't think
but
so.
Then you think about, like, Amazing Race. Like,
we don't see them.
We don't see them eating. Sometimes we see them. I mean, they're in crazy conditions.
Right.
But it's like, is that just what they signed up for? And Survivor, too. Like, what about Survivor?
I think we're trying... Reality TV has been around, like, in the main popular culture for, I would say, maybe the last 25 to 30 years, right? 25. And I think we're starting to see it mature to the point where people are saying, like, what's the point of exploitation? And to the point of actual, this is what the show is about, right? Mm-hmm. Thinking about this, thinking about what. I mean, some of it holds less credence. Raquel and the ladies' podcast she went on for the
Bethany.
But think about a couple years ago where DeMario and on Bachelor in Paradise got really plastered with Corinne.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. Then you had the safety of the Bachelor in Paradise people.
True.
With Chad. So it's come up. And I think it's going to change. But a lot of people are like, oh, this show's over. Bachelor in Paradise didn't end when. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff it has to be pretty drastic.
And they have PR people who are trying to be pretty drastic.
I'm sure the production company Netflix will say, hey, let's make some changes.
Yeah.
Let's make those changes public, and then we'll continue on because let's face it, people are gonna watch.
Well, yeah, for sure.
It would take so much to happen for people to morally object to watching a show.
Yeah. People
would say they would, and then go click, let me watch it.
Yeah, or look at all the stuff on TikTok about it still.
Okay, so let's just run through some other allegations since we brought up other allegations. We're not a reporter. There's people claiming Myra, who was a contestant on the show, claims she was best friends with the girl that Milton dated.
A girl that not just Milton dated, but broke up with right before going on the show. Which people are also saying maybe that was why his family was going so hard on him when he was at home.
Yes,
kind of like, what? Like, you broke up with her, and now you're instantly engaged?
Right. There's people claiming that Chris, who was dating Johnny after the show, also had a girlfriend, a long-term girlfriend that he broke up with. Shortly before the show. These aren't confirmed. These are just
alleged.
Just armchair detectives, Reddit sleuths who are looking this information up, right?
But Myra really did say.
Myra really did say that, but you're right. She said it.
Yeah, you're right. She could have been lying.
Right.
She is a
Speaking of,
pastor, so I hope she's not.
let's take a break. Let's take a break from Love is Blind. I know we said we're going to talk about the episode. We haven't done it yet. We do need to discuss Clayton Eckhart. A couple episodes we discussed.
That's on Brooks Buzz.
Do you want to? We'll save it
That's
for Brooks Buzz.
Brooks Buzz.
Okay, we'll save it for Brooks Buzz.
You got to tune in Thursday to hear that.
All right, cool. So yeah, but I'm just saying people can lie. We can't just say,
true.
oh, because they said it to People Magazine, we can't just assume
true
that it was the truth if they don't have. Anyways, what else has been going on? There's just been things left and right happening, but I think we've covered the biggest of the allegations.
Yeah, I think so.
Aaliyah
came out with a new boyfriend, debuted her new boyfriend.
Yeah, really seems unbothered by the whole Uche Lydia.
Which I'm so happy for her.
Really great for her.
I'm so happy for her. Move on on with your life. Do better. Get away from all the mess.
Right.
And I guess she was on someone's podcast too.
Yeah, I forgot the person's name.
That was another thing. Izzy went on a podcast this week.
He went on the Vial Files with Nick Vial.
Yeah. I can't remember.
He's been around. He's been seen around town with other women.
Yes.
Seemingly single. Definitely not with Izzy.
Yes.
I mean, with Stacy. So, like I said, all of that to say, wow, we've covered quite a bit. But that's just to get the background and the context of why this season feels so out of place. But let's talk about, have we covered everything?
I think so.
Let's talk about these last 2 episodes of Love is Blind.
All right.
We pick back up with Uche and Milton on that, what episode was that? Episode 7, I believe. Uche and Milton are back to, or was it episode 8? I think, whatever it was. Uche and Milton are continuing the conversation after Uche and Lydia just had a screaming match, a shouting match. Mm-hmm. And, just in general, Milton just was unbothered. He did not care.
Milton was, he was trying to,
yeah, so he was unbothered. He did not care. Like, Uche had a lot to say to Milton about Lydia and what had happened and his perspective and how he felt about Milton and how he felt about Lydia.
But Milton was just like trying to use some math analogy, which it kind of was going left, but then he brought it back home and he said, I'm on a different parallel. I'm going to start saying that now.
Yeah.
When I just do not want to be involved, I am on a different parallel.
Yeah, Uche is a lawyer or has a law degree, if I remember correctly, and clearly uses a lot of maybe tactics, or maybe that's just how he argues to kind of, I don't want to say confuse people, but maybe just kind of derail conversations, shift blame. And he uses that, and Milton uses his knowledge of math, I would say, to just kind of stun people into like, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Even people who understand the math are like, wait, what are you saying, Milton?
Right.
But, he did get his point across. Like
right. But Uche is still, like, trying to say, oh, Lydia knew beforehand. Basically trying to disparage?
Yep.
Is that the right word? Lydia's name, I guess, to make himself look better or feel better. But it's ridiculous.
Right.
And then he starts asking Milton about their communication. Well, do you think you and Lydia have good communication? Like, Milton, Uche, that's none of your business.
Right.
Like, and why do you care?
Yeah, he also said, like, wow, man, don't let this random chick get in between our friendship, which is like, first of all, I've known you for a couple weeks.
Right.
Second of all, he told Milton, don't let don't let your fiance come between our friendship. And he told Aaliyah, don't let a friendship come between your potential fiance.
Yeah.
So basically the rules for Uche is, if it involves me, I should get the high priority.
Yep.
his logic doesn't really make sense from conversation to conversation. He clearly just likes to deflect blame and accuse others, which I guess is what a lawyer does, right?
Right, which is then exactly makes sense why he would then started to go after Miriam.
Well, yeah. So before he ends his conversation with Milton, he's like, "Okay, yeah, bro, we'll see. I'll see you later, man. Let's talk later." And Milton's just kind of like, "All right, I'll talk to you. Good luck, brother. I'll see you in the group chat or whatever." Which is kind of like, I'm never talking to you again. Like, well, at most you'll see me in our little Love Is Blind group chat we have. So when he comes back and talks, there's still a fight going on because people want to know, Uche, what was going on. And Lydia's over there too. They're comforting Lydia.
Yeah.
And even though I think they're comforting Lydia, they are like, so Lydia, yes, he shouldn't have screamed at you. But also, we're hearing that you followed him onto the show.
Yeah.
And they were like making a big deal about that. But, they fought. So then Lydia leaves with Milton to go to the dinner date. Mm-hmm. So then they're talking to Uche, and he's like telling him the story. And that's why I didn't want to skip over this. Like, he's telling his like shocking side of the story, and you remember Johnny is just like, what?
Yeah.
And that's when Stacy says to Johnny, "Fix your face. Is there something wrong with your face?" Like, Stacy, this has nothing to do with you.
Stacy is a mean girl. You're a mean girl.
Yeah, Stacy was you could tell, like, she was so focused on why she was angry, and she was angry at Johnny. Okay, so that's when he starts going at Miriam because right, because Stacy and Johnny are now getting into it, and Uche, he doesn't want. It's not enough for him to make Lydia look bad. He also wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
So as the fight moves away from him telling his side of the story, and it's Johnny and Stacy, he starts going, "Hey, actually, can we let me finish? Can I finish what I was saying?"
He did
and he's
that.
Just like, Uche, you're so transparent, bro.
Yeah.
And so now everyone's yelling and talking, and so Miriam and Maris are defending or going up at Uche, and that's when Uche.
So then Uche's just like going off on her. I don't even. Oh well, he was like, "You're so sketchy. You don't even know what you do or where you live.
Where do you live? What do you do for work?" Which is please explain.
It's But then she was like, "Okay, so now you've gone after Lydia. You've gone after, Aaliyah, or what was she saying?"
She said, "I'm not like Aaliyah or Lydia. I will, go back at you, basically."
Basically, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I mean, good for you. Like, he shouldn't be talking down to any of these women.
Yeah, Uche sucks. He's just, in retrospect, again, I just would never trust him with anything. He seems to me like a gaslighter and a liar and a manipulator. So if he was disparaging someone like he does often on the show, I would want a second opinion. So we get that. And then I don't remember because it's all kind of woven in together.
Well, it all was very messy. It all was very overlapping, and everyone was talking to everyone. But we then get a scene where Izzy and Chris are talking.
Right.
And Izzy is, doing this stupid thing of, well, I just, want you to know who Johnny really is. And,
right.
And, she told me she loved me 4 times in the pod and begged me to be her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And basically trying to get Chris, I guess basically trying to make Johnny look bad. That's another thing on Vial Files. Izzy said that they had heard once they got back from Mexico, Johnny was talking bad about them. So when they went to this party, they were already mad at her. But that's childish.
I really wish I could be there because a lot of things out of context can sound worse than they are. And I don't want to sound like I'm taking it for Johnny, because I actually do think Johnny is a little shady. But think, like, this is what we saw. We saw Izzy break up with her, and then she's like, I don't even know why, Stacy, like, like they would be horrible for each other. That's like picking the easy road. Like, I don't know why she even wants him. He has bad credit. When we heard that initially, you're like, why would you bring that up?
Yeah.
And we forgot about it. Now, picture this. Stacy in the pods, I'm not saying she did this, but what if it happened? Is going like, oh my gosh, I have 2 Mercedes. I have a 3-story home in the nice part of Houston. This is where I live, and I need a man who's got money, honey. You know what I'm saying? Like, men must pay for all the dates. I need a private jet to Paris. You know what I'm saying? If not, we gotta be first class. It has to be a nice air. Stuff she said to Izzy, right? And then if Johnny was talking to Izzy and Izzy's like, I have really bad credit. It's just something I'm shameful about. Blah, 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 blah. Johnny might have been genuinely like, I do not know why Stacy is pretending to like this guy. He is broke and with bad credit. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So if she's saying it more just like, Izzy picked a girl that doesn't even like him and is going to drop him, which, newsflash, when we get to Izzy and Stacy, they have money issues. I could see how she was saying that, but I don't know if I would consider that. It is maybe talking out of turn and not minding your business, but again, it's kind of facts. What do you think?
Yeah, but I mean, yes, that could have been what she was saying, but when I heard it, my first thought was she was like, oh, I mean, it's okay. I dodged a bullet because he has bad credit, and I don't want to be attached to that. I don't want to be associated with that.
That's what I thought too. We said it. We talked about it. I called her Gretchen Wieners. But just knowing what we know about how important money is to Stacy, so it's her life, and how little of it Izzy has.
True.
I almost want to go back and watch that scene if she said, oh, I don't want him, he has bad credit. Or if she was just like, he has bad credit. I don't get why Stacy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is, yes, they launch into an attack on her and like trying to like dissuade Chris from being with her. But I don't know if it wasn't justified is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because then eventually in this conversation, Stacy comes in, and then Johnny comes in, and they're all there together, and Stacy is just going in at Johnny like, everything you say is lies and BS, and like, if we're just kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, we're missing something there. I don't understand what she was talking about.
Yeah, they didn't really show what accusations. They didn't really show why Stacy was so mad at Johnny.
Yeah, because then after that, I mean, that's basically all that happened. They're yelling at each other, calling each other liars. Then they go back to the apartment, and Stacy and Izzy.
Side note: Izzy is sloshed and has been so on the whole party the whole time.
Yes.
He's been acting visibly.
Yeah.
Huh? What?
And basically Stacy's like, yeah, but why are you still so upset with Johnny? And I'm like, girl, you're upset with her too. Why are either of you? But she's like, why are you? She's like, and then she's like, yeah, why are you? You know? And she's like, I don't know. I don't want to feel like option 2, second to her. Yeah. And Izzy's like, she's just a pod chick. So Stacy's like, well, I was just a pod chick too. And Izzy's just trying to throw anything he can to get her back on his side, back in his corner. And she's like, where are the actions? You said you would do all this stuff for me, like rose petals and run a bath for me after work and cook for me. What do you do for me? And Izzy's just like,
well, before that, I think what led to that part of the conversation is because he asked her, well, like, you kind of put me down and make me feel like I'm not, like, I don't deserve to be with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like, I feel like I'm not good enough for you.
And that, not just he feels that way, he said, you make me feel that way.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
And yeah, so then basically that's all we get, and then Izzy goes and cries in a closet, and Stacy tries to go comfort him, but she's just kind of still stone cold.
Yeah, you're right. She's definitely just like, why are you crying?
Yeah, basically.
You're crying?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, here's how I saw it. Final, like, he says, like, all right, you're making me feel bad about like I'm not good enough for you. She's like, well, aren't you? You know what I mean? Like, and he was like, well, what have I not done? She's like, well, have you cooked for me? Have you done those things? He's like, I want to do those things. And I'm like, I think that Stacy has a point. Not that it's not that I own everything, but it's like he's like, oh, I want to do those things for you. She's like, okay, we'll do them. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what you said, if that's what they, as part of what their partnership is, it's not enough to just like, I want them, right? So he got mad. He's like, I feel like you're only focusing on the things I don't do. And she's like, oh, like, why? You should be happy about the things I do. And it's like, well, what are they? And you know, you get what I'm trying to say? Like, they weren't even, he felt like, oh, you always focus on the negatives. And she's like, well, yeah, because there's not enough positives.
Right.
So I just think they weren't able to have an intelligent conversation because he was super drunk.
Right, yeah.
And then he got emotional and cried.
Right.
And she doesn't care. And so, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so then we
okay, so we also met Izzy's mom. I guess he goes. When did we didn't talk about? I guess they make up at her. How many jobs, first of all, does Stacy have? Stacy is. we see online that she's a freelance makeup artist, and it's like.
Okay, that's not nice.
No, I just,
listen.
She's got her own style.
Listen, I wouldn't hire her to do my makeup.
That's all I'm saying.
And as I get, as someone who has clients, look, you're gonna be judged by the way you do things. It sucks. It is what it is.
Right, but we don't even. It's not judging our clients. I think there's just a lot of stuff online that she has a unique way of putting on.
No, I'm saying as a client, you're gonna judge the person you're receiving services
from
see what you're saying. Based off of certain things.
Yeah.
So, am I gonna choose her to be a client of hers? No, I am not.
Yeah. So we don't know how many jobs she has. She's listed as an operations director on Netflix. We know she likes to do makeup.
But what is an operations director? Operations manager.
Well, I mean, I can say that's like a thing. So like,
I truly don't know.
So like, they literally manage the operations of a company. So like, at a job like mine, where you're moving shipping and you're coordinating with drivers and truckers and your warehouse team, everything that is required to operate a business, as the ins and outs, the day to day stuff. That's typically what you're in overseeing, right? But now that's for like a job like mine. I'd imagine if you're an operations manager for something in retail, you know what I mean? It might have less to do with shipping, but more like inbound, like stuff coming into your stores and like where it's getting stocked and who's scheduling all that stuff.
Do you think that can provide the amount of income she appears to have?
No.
Okay.
You can get a good living off of that, and you can make actually quite a bit of money. But I think it's clear that her money is from her father.
Okay.
Right. So it's not like she's not a broke. She's not she could be an operations manager at on a food truck, but I doubt it. You know what I mean? I think she's making good money.
But it's not enough that's providing her house and her 2 cars and her. Okay. So, and her trips on first class.
Right. Okay. So, again, we're at her job. They make up. And how does he make up with her? He comes with a bag.
Pilates. She's a Pilates
Oh,
instructor.
that's right. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah,
She's a Pilates
so she has
instructor.
several jobs apparently.
Yeah, and she's a Pilates instructor. She comes to her job, I'm assuming after the class, and has a bag full of odds and ends. And I'm gonna skip around a bit here. This was the end. This is when these were the days that she knew it was over.
I think so too.
Because,
I think when she saw him crying and she had no emotion, just stone. I think it was like almost a turn off for her.
well, definitely, but I think she was willing to be more vulnerable and emotional. This is it.
Yeah.
And I hope. I mean, I don't. If this is how she lives her life, well, then this is. I'm not saying wrong or right, but this is, as I can tell, it has less to do with him being vulnerable and emotional, and it has more to do. In fact, everything to do with she wants expensive, big, materialistic. And I know that's the bad word, materialistic. No one likes to be called that.
Mm-hmm.
Things, and the way he apologizes was like a plunger that he wrote a nice note on.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I forget what else was in the gift, but it wasn't like a Tiffany's bracelet.
Yeah.
It wasn't diamond earrings.
Yeah.
Later on in the date, she says, I like to fly first class and go on nice excursions. And he takes her on a tour of the Johnson Space Center south of Houston, and they fly around in an airplane. Now, do not get me wrong. That's like a pretty good thing.
Yeah, I'd love that.
But for him, that's like the tippity top. This is my big showing. A plunger I wrote on, and us taking a tour of Johnson Space Center.
But I also
I'm saying I think she would truly think, what based on what we hear about her dating history and just how she's approached conversations with Izzy, is she would like someone who, instead of a plunger he wrote a note on, give her a card and a ticket for a weekend getaway, first class.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To London, and then you go have dinner in this, and you go, and not just dinner at a pub somewhere, a really trendy spot in London, and then when you get back, you're like, oh, and here's the keys to a Beamer. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
okay, if I'm wrong, Stacey, come on the pod and let us know.
Let us know.
But what I'm saying is his big grand gestures of, oh, I'm sorry, are thoughtful. And she said, wow, this is the most romantic thing anyone's done. But if you subscribe to the love language stuff, she's not and I'm making up love languages. She's not a romantic jester. She doesn't want to receive romantic gesture. She wants to receive nice, expensive things. That's how her dad shows her love.
Yeah.
That's how her previous boyfriends have showed her love. Izzy isn't doing that.
Okay, hot takes by Jared. I like it.
And that's why it's so big. He's like, I thought I am connecting with you emotionally. I thought I am giving so much of myself to you. She's like, where are the things?
Yeah, you're right.
I need things from you, not a plunge. I know I've said this a million times.
Yeah.
Not sentimental, hypothetical, like intangible romantic stuff.
Right.
I need to know you love me by where we sit on a plane.
Right. Okay. Hot take. I like it. Now, I also want to just add that date was very producer led, all set up by the producers.
It's not like a Bachelor 101.
Yeah, and that is top tier for Izzy, and he only did it with the producer's help. I don't think that is going to even continue, even that level, which is not high enough for Stacey.
Definitely not working 3 days a week as in insurance sales.
No. Mm-mm.
So, we skipped all around, but that's kind of where they're at. Because even in the next episode, that's where they go on a date in the Johnson Space Center.
Well, also we did meet Izzy's mom.
You're right.
Which, I mean, there wasn't. I think. I remember you being like, I don't know how Stacey's doing.
Okay, well, that's again. Okay. Not to turn this into like a psychoanalysis of Stacey, but I'm just saying, to me, it's been so clear, and maybe it's the benefit of hindsight, because spoiler alert, we kind of, just from what we hear around Houston, I've heard that Izzy and Stacey are not together. Sorry. But it's so clear that this is kind of the moments that it was like, she's like, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life, right?
So she wasn't putting on her best face.
She
for
wasn't
Mom.
really engaged. When I meet, how do I phrase this? When you meet someone's parents, or you meet someone, or it's a big moment for someone, but you already know you don't. It's like, this go horrible. I'm not going to be with you forever.
Gosh.
You don't go in there. Now, some people are very respectful, and it doesn't matter the situation.
Sure.
But when you like, okay, it's like this. Think of it this way: when you're at a job that you know you already applied at your next position somewhere else in another company, and you just have to sign your offer sheet, and you're going to put in your 2 weeks Friday, right? Mm-hmm. Thursday, Wednesday, it doesn't matter if they come and slam you with work. It doesn't matter because you're like, yeah, whatever.
Sure.
You know what I mean? People are like, wow, Jared, you just seem kind of loose, because you know there's a time limit.
Just so what I'm saying,
when she met his mom, it felt very loosey, like, yeah, sure, Mom. You know what I mean?
That's valid.
It wasn't like, oh gosh, I really want this to
I
go
hope
well.
she likes me.
She could be in my life forever.
Yeah,
it was just like, hey, what's up? What's cracking, Mom? You know what I mean? Mom Dukes, what's up? Those are the vibes she was
very
putting
true.
Down. Mm-hmm.
Very true. Okay, so then we get back to Milton and Lydia.
Let's just finish out Izzy and Stacy.
Oh yeah, so that's the second episode.
Well, yeah, we already talked about NASA, so we basically might as well talk about the bad credit.
Okay, yeah. So right at the very end of the episode, it shows them in there packing, which I think they were just packing because it's almost wedding day and they're moving out.
I think they're moving out of the apartment they had.
And it's like tense, and they're like, yeah, we had a conversation off camera, and they're kind of alluding. They're not really telling what it is, but basically she's like, well, why didn't you tell me about your financial issues? Because
and the credit card, she did say, you didn't tell me about the credit card.
You didn't tell me about the credit card. And she's like, it's not so much the issue with the money. It's more so that I can't trust you now with telling me things, or just with finances, which that's fair. Very fair. But I also think it's about the money.
No, it's definitely both. He definitely, I think he's been intimidated by Stacy since the beginning.
Yes.
In every aspect, we brought it up on the other aspects before, but I think she said, like, there has been times where I've been like, is there anything I need to know? Yeah. And you said no. Yeah. Why don't you bring this up?
Also, obviously we know he told Johnny he has bad credit, so why did he tell Johnny and not tell Stacy?
So, do you get what I'm saying about how he went so hard at Johnny, but it could be because I haven't told Stacy I have bad credit, but you're going around telling everyone I'm broke and poor and have bad credit.
True.
You're attacking me.
True. Very true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, shut up. Stop. You're a liar. Everything you're saying is a lie.
Even though it was true. Well, and then he says, oh yeah, it's $3,500. It's not that much. If you $3,500 in credit card debt is not going to make you have horrible credit unless you're just truly not paying it at all.
Well, he might not be paying it.
I know that might be what it is.
I don't know if we've discussed it on the podcast. He said he was in between jobs and starting a new opportunity.
Yes, true.
I personally, it's hard to nail down because he hasn't made them clear. You don't have to on the show. That's not a requirement. His financial situation, or to be honest, his employment situation.
Yeah, true.
So as someone, I've heard that take, like, oh, $3,500 is not enough to be in disastrous debt about. You know, there's a lot of people that if they went $3,500 in the hole right now and had to keep living, you know what I'm saying? You can't just take a pause from your rent, your medical bills, your food bills, and say, like, all right, I'm going to pay off $3,500. Not everyone can. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
So I will stand up for him there. People's Rose style, populist style. I can see how if that's the case, that could be a sizable amount of debt for him.
I see. Yeah, but I don't know. It just seemed like there was more to the story that we weren't getting with that.
I think he also, to be honest, I think he lied about the amount.
No, yeah, same.
Because the way he said it was like, just 30, wow, 3,500.
That's another thing he said on VL Files is that in the pods they have a day where they're supposed to talk about finances.
But he did.
So exactly. So like again, that just goes to show that he was lying, and I think it's fair for Stacey to be questioning him about that.
I agree. So that's where we leave off with them. We're gonna see if they're gonna make it quick hitters. When they tried out her dresses, she brought her mom or her sisters. I don't know if that's her mom or stepmom. I've forgotten, and I don't remember there being anything too crazy from that. But yeah, so we got one other couple in these
Lydia
2 episodes left, and it's Lydia and Milton.
So, Lydia, we get back to them after this event, and Milton's pretty chill about it. He's just kind of like, whatever.
Right.
And Lydia's just like, look, I'm just standing up for myself. I think Uche did me wrong, and, that's pretty much that. Then we move on to meeting Milton's family. And on the way there, Milton's like, yeah, I don't really like introducing people to my family, which that's like what's about to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he's like, I just had a really strict upbringing. What did he say? It was sink or swim.
Right, which is crucial.
Yeah.
To his perspective. He says not only was he strict, but I think his sink or swim diagnosis. What do you call it? Diagnosis. His sink or swim diagnosis indicates that not only did he feel it was strict, but he didn't have a lifeboat. He didn't have support. If he didn't abide or do it exactly how they wanted, you sank.
Right.
And you just had to tread water and swim to get out of there. And I think he sees himself as out of that, moved on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he loves his family. He said his sister, he still loves them. But he also told his sister, I'm going to do it my way.
Right.
So I think he's past their way. And so having to bring his fiance into the family way is scary for him.
For sure. And, his mom is just like a straight up FBI agent. Like, oh yeah, his sister's like, oh yeah, she'll look you up online, and his mom is just like, yeah, I will.
Yeah,
like, no
it was
shame.
Preface. Her mom was like, wait, what'd you say your last name was?
Yeah.
She told her full. Like,
Yeah. And mom was just going in on her. She said, what is someone 30 doing with a 24-year-old? And honestly, I think Lydia had really good answers because she kept herself composed. I think they were giving her they were saying that it was too planned, too, like, what were they saying, put together, like,
yeah. And not only were they like antagonistic on like, what do you, even when she would answer the questions well, their response was like, you answered that a little too well.
Right.
It seemed like a little too put together, too thought out, too planned. And you're like, oh my god.
And she just like kept her cool, right?
Lydia did, from what we saw, very much kept her cool.
Yeah. And even Milton's sister, in my opinion, was being rude.
Incredibly rude.
The mom she was questioning and she was being like serious.
I think she was being a little cold.
Yeah, but sister was being straight up rude.
I agree.
Because she was like, Milton, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, in front of Lydia, just in a group setting.
Yeah.
Like, can I talk to you away? Can I speak to you for a second? She just walked up. She was like, what is this? What are you doing?
And so Milton was trying to just shut it down because, like, why are you're being rude? So he was just shutting it down.
Yeah.
And then his sister's like, you're phony. He's being phony. He's being so phony. I'm like, dang. You don't have to be rude about it.
Yeah, I just think you should have some tact.
Right.
It's not, even if, it would have to be something just abjectly insane. I don't think this qualifies for me to disrespect someone that my brothers brought around to the family in front of them.
Right.
If they walked in there with an axe murderer who was holding an axe, I would be like, yo, bro, what are you doing? But short of that, I think it's just so insensitive
Yeah.
and dehumanizing to treat a situation that not only your brother and his fiance is in as if she's not there and it's just some crazy thing he's doing.
Yeah.
Especially Milton might seem young, but he's gone to school. He graduated high school and college early. I think they said he had a master's or was working towards one or
Oh,
hope to one day.
his mom said he wants to get his doctorate.
Right. And he doesn't seem like he might, like be fun loving, but he doesn't seem like he's dumb. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And he also honestly seems to think almost too critically
Yeah.
about things sometimes.
Oh, you're saying so like he's not making a rash.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a person like. Now, from their perspective, he might be that person, but in reality, he's not like fly by the seat of his pants.
Sure, impulsive.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
exactly. And so it's almost like, yeah, maybe I should trust your son a little bit more, but then at the same time, I can understand being a little bit skeptical about the whole process, but still, the sister didn't have to be that rude. But then later, him and his sister went to lunch.
Well, just real quick, I do think, think of The Bachelor, when The Bachelor people go and meet the families. So many, and it's almost just become the thing you say nowadays, so it's like almost like become cliche to say this, but I think it's so good when the parents are like, I think this is crazy, but we raised our daughter or our son, to be smart, to be intelligent.
Right.
And if they think this is the right decision for them, we're going to support them. You know what I mean? Do the good and the bad of it all.
Right.
Right. So that's why I think, so I would hope when it comes down to it, that's the sentiment his family would have, because it does seem like they've raised an intelligent, thoughtful young man. And 24, I think for most people's approximation is a little too young. But of 24-year-olds, Milton does seem like a person who's capable of making intelligent, thought-out decisions.
Definitely. And, I think Lydia is a lot more passionate and lot more in touch with her emotions and comfortable with being emotional and than Milton's family. And so I think that was a little bit hard for them too.
Yeah, segue into you're about to talk about the lunch with his sister. He says that. He says she's way more emotional than our family is, which his sister kind of took offense to. But he's like, she is, and he said, I want to grow in that area.
Yeah.
I want to get to, well, maybe not to her point, but she's someone that could teach me more about being in touch with who I am emotionally.
Yeah.
And I think the thought process is say, I know what I want from a partner, and I see that in her, is, I think, in that regards, more mature than some people, 30-year-olds that we know.
Definitely.
Who are looking for love.
Definitely.
And haven't reached that realization.
Yeah. And I think that he also in that lunch was like, sis, come on. Like, our family is different. Like, our family dynamic is different. It is not the norm. It has issues. And she was kind of like, well, yeah, you're right, which every family has some issues and some, a little bit of dysfunction somewhere. But that to me was kind of like her. I think that I don't know, but I'm thinking Milton wanted to have this lunch because he wanted to kind of get her away from the family without her having to have this like performative thing in front of mom and dad and just be like, look, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. I did not like the way, and he didn't say this, but I did not like the way that you were handling it in front of all of the family. And she did seem to kind of come around in a sense to where he was like, are you coming to the wedding? Like, it's happening. I'm doing this because I'm going to do what I want to do. And she was just kind of like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, we'll be at the wedding, so.
Yeah, I think the show is definitely not about Milton's sister, but she strikes me, I say I don't like to do this, but I've done it to Stacey and now her. Like, I see her, she's the older sister. She was clearly tag teaming Milton with the mother, right? She's married. if I had to guess. And she and the rest of the family described Milton as he's the one who'll go crazy and do anything. So in this dichotomy, they made it look like there's only two siblings of him and his sister. If she's the first one, the goody two shoes, the one that did everything right, that endured all of mom's strictness and tolerance, and is trying to do it, but is now seeing her younger sibling do whatever he wants, go crazy, be successful, headstrong into the wind. She might be taking on more of the qualities her mom has.
Sure.
Because one, she's like, I did it the right way. Why do you get to live? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Almost like I don't want to. I'm sure I know she loves her brother, but like you can get kind of salty. You can get kind of like, well, hold on. What about me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, okay. So Milton and Lydia, after this, go on a date to, was it the Museum of Natural Science in Houston?
Yeah.
And there's a rock exhibit, which of course, the geologist connection, they had to talk about rocks. And Lydia is dressed to the nines. She looks like they might go clubbing afterwards, or they might be inaugurated, right? And he is in a black t-shirt and jeans. So he's clearly unbothered.
I mean, I think that's just him, though.
Right, yeah, clearly.
But yeah, it was a disaster because come to find out, they actually weren't over all of the Uche situation from Novel, because he says, I didn't like the way that you handled that. And she was like, I'm actually really proud of the way that I handled that. Yeah. And then she's kind of like, and by the way, you don't get to tell me how or how not to handle things.
Yeah, this is unfortunate. I had, at this point in these episodes, I had switched to rooting for Lydia and Milton. This is where she lost me, because she went into telenovela, woe is me, super dramatic. I'm my own person, and I want to be loved. It's like she went on a movie like soliloquy dialogue. I mean, wow, monologue about love and all this stuff, while literally Milton just starts eating. She's like talking for maybe 2 minutes of showtime, and he's just shut down, because clearly that's what he does. But she was not letting him speak.
Yeah.
And this is going back to her behavior in the pods. She's like, well, what about me? And he's like, okay, well, can I talk about mine? She's like, no, you can't actually.
Yeah.
Because I want someone to love me for me. But when people do that and refuse to acknowledge that you can't just be like, that's not realistic and it's not fair in a partnership.
Sure.
To just say, I get to do whatever I want, and if you don't love every single thing I do, you're wrong.
Sure, yeah.
And if I do something and you have an opinion about it and I don't agree with it, I'm going to launch into a whole, do you even love me for who I am thing. And that's when I was like, oh, this is why Lydia is so Lydia,
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, well, I want to tell you this thing because I think you should know where I stand with this. And then she was just kind of not really allowing him to have that opinion. I think she was taking it very personally and taking it as an attack. And it was just really poor communication, not a great dynamic. So, yeah, I don't really know, because that's how it ended, right?
Yeah, I think that's what we end off on. And it's just, although we had a lot to say about it, it's truly because, one, there's so much stuff going on tangentially. But the way we left off with Izzy and Stacy of, okay, they have hit a huge roadblock. And I know a lot of this is editing, but they've hit a huge roadblock, and it seems like a deal breaker roadblock. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't even seem like, can love overcome this? It's almost just like, maybe y'all should go y'all separate ways. Right. You know what I mean? Before this becomes a marriage. And then Izzy and Lydia, whose problems are more, I would say, manageable. Not, that's it, Izzy and Lydia. I meant Milton and Lydia. It still is one of those, hey, maybe y'all shouldn't. You know what I mean? I feel like most people, even those who tolerate them, aren't rooting for them.
Right.
We don't have anybody to root for. We don't have any more. We don't have even like star-crossed lovers, like people that should be together. But oh my gosh, the
Right.
chemistry. We need them to be together.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
if Milton and Lydia do go through with it, I am rooting for them. If
And
y'all choose to be married and you want to commit to each other, then I am backing and supporting you 100%.
And we know, and we've seen people who have stronger, maybe personality conflicts,
Sure,
that work through situations, stronger situations than even just I didn't like how you fought at a party.
right. But it's if I mean, you don't have to. Like, you're not married yet. You don't have to stay in something that is dysfunctional.
Right, which is why, with that and everything going on, these episodes just feel like some of the worst. And notice a lot of these scenes also were just super long.
Yeah.
They were just like that museum date scene with Lydia and Milton. Felt like it lasted 30 to 40 minutes.
It was long.
Truly might have. That party scene was literally 2 episodes on top of the novella.
We don't have a lot of content. It's just 2 couples.
They're stretching 2 couples that aren't the best couples
out.
So I said all that to say this season is just lacking. It's a lot of people are saying this is like a wake up moment for the show on like how they're gonna go going forward. I think they're gonna have to make changes, but I mean you can't foretell, the Renee Carter situation, the sexual harassment situation. Although maybe they need to be better. They need not maybe if that's what alleged is true. They definitely need to change their practices on that. And you can't foresee the guy just not liking Taylor and going home.
Right.
I guess that does happen. I just think it was just the perfect storm, and that's why Houston is not getting a good season. Right. Do we have anything else on Love is Blind?
I think that's it. We'll see. We'll know in a few days.
So, yeah, well, please come back Thursday. Here's what we'll do. Listen, we planned this to be an episode where we talk about Love is Blind and Bachelor in Paradise. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have to wait a whole week to hear our lovely voices before we talked about Bachelor in Paradise. But seeing as how we've already been talking for an hour, and we could probably go pretty in depth on Bachelor in Paradise, we're going to have to cut it here. But, Thursday, we'll have even more content to talk about.
Even more.
And so because of that situation, what we'll do now is we'll just give you some high-level things of what we thought about Bachelor in Paradise, and then maybe touch up on some things that we missed on Thursday. So, I have some stuff. We got my shining star, Hannah Brown. She's on the beach. Not only is she, not only my fan of it, I think everyone who's watched her season onwards of Bachelor's franchise shows, she's like the last rock star of the show. I mean, and people from her season are kind of the last big names. Now, Tayshia had a kind of shining moment there. Katie had a lot of drama. I don't know if I know for a fact she's not on Hannah Brown's level. But Hannah Brown is a woman. She steps on the beach. Some of these women were like, I'm going home.
This girl said she's the Taylor Swift of Bachelor Nation.
Kat, that was Jess. Jess said that. Kat said, I would be honored if she stole my man.
She did.
She said it would be honored to have Hannah Brown come and steal my man.
I mean, I like her. I knew you liked her, but I did not realize she was that big of a star in Bachelor Nation.
Yeah, so, okay. So that happened, but we all knew she was just there to do a thing.
Yeah.
She stirred the pot. It was great to see her stir the pot.
That actually was brilliant.
Maybe that's what
campfire
we'll cover.
scene.
We'll leave that to talk. We'll talk about the campfire scene because that's probably going to have some effects for the next couple episodes. We'll say that for Thursday. But just real quick, the producers still got it. Of course, they send Avon in to go have a date with Kylie. Of course, it goes well. And of course, Olivia's happy about it. Of course, Will is sad about it. We see Kat all in on Brayden. We'll save that for the campfire stuff. But Kat and Brayden are making out. Aaron B gets into a triangle with Eliza and Mercedes. Picks Eliza. Mercedes sad about it. And the people that went home this week were Brooklyn, Kat, and Greer.
I thought Brooklyn. I wanted more from Brooklyn, but I'm not really surprised that she didn't make a connection.
Yeah, Brooklyn. I think clearly has a personality
Right.
for reality TV, but she just the guys that are on the beach weren't really to there. She didn't have chemistry with Greer. I told you this. I strongly believe the producers wanted Greer to have a big standing in the show. They pushed her hard on Zach's season.
Yeah.
She got COVID. Things were unfortunate. She was one of the first women on the beach in Paradise, and I really think they wanted more from Greer, but she just never found a connection, and so she's seemingly out the franchise. It's probably the last we've seen of Greer. She's a fellow Houstonian, so sorry, Greer. Come on the podcast if you want more airtime. And then we'll save the rest of what we got for Thursday. We'll come back and hear us this week. We'll be talking about that live eviction episode of Big Brother that's happening Thursday. The episode 3 of the Golden Bachelor that will be Thursday. We'll talk about Amazing Race that's happening Wednesday. You can expect to hear about Brooks Buzz. You can expect to hear from my sports 60-second segment and much more. So thank you for listening to this emergency episode of People's Rose. Follow us on social media at The People's Rose on most social media sites, and just continue to listen to us whatever podcast platform you use. So if nothing else, bye.
Peace. Bunch, Captain Crunch.